All right, well, we're going to continue to power through these audio issues that you tell me that I'm having that I can't hear and you sound fine. And I'm verklempt about the whole thing as I pound on my desk. Do you hear me pounding on the desk?
I can hear it. It sounds modulated, but I hear it.
Even the desk pounding is even modulated?
It's modulated pounding, yes.
Maybe what do you know? It worked for Cher.
What did?
Think about that. The modulate. Do you believe in life after love?
It's auto-tune, and actually it does sound a little bit like someone's with you with auto-tune, like with your pitch while you're talking.
Well, see, there you go. We're doing a new thing. It's going to be the rage of podcasting. Like, do you believe in life after love? It's going to take over, and we're on the forefront of it. So look at it that way. What I told you earlier, as long as I don't sound like Neil Armstrong from the moon, I think the people will enjoy the program.
We shall see.
That was a full-throated endorsement. They're going to fucking hate it.
I'm worried about this audio.
Oh, well. It's been duly noted that you have threatened to cut my carotid artery over my audio today.
No, I said I would cut the artery in your groin if you didn't fix this audio.
All right, Don LaPrey, let's go back to our one-bedroom apartment on Fox Television Network on Friday nights. Can we talk about SmackDown for a minute? It ain't going to take long. There was only, well, I can't say one segment. It was two. The first 40 minutes of the program was great, and then there was the rest of the program. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, let's start with that.
March the 1st, a red letter day. Finally, The Rock has come back to Glendale/Phoenix, Arizona. I was not aware that I know Phoenix and Scottsdale. I didn't know where there's a lot of Dales out there. Where's Chippendale in Arizona?
I don't know.
You can't get the Atlas out. Never. You're just pissed about my audio.
I'm so pissed. You have no idea.
You have no idea. You're just checking out for the rest of the thing. But no, this was one of the most gripping pieces of television that I've seen from anybody, and I don't know how long. They've opened up a whole new can of worms with this. They start out with the Elimination Chamber package, keep us up to date on what's going on, but then the first thing you see is Roman Reigns and Paul and Solo and Jimmy, and they come down, and it takes, the normal 4 or 5 minutes for him to get in the ring, and Roman he asks to be acknowledged, and he ain't happy with the sound of it. It used to be louder. And he tells him again, maybe, it's not me, it's you. I want to hear, acknowledge me. And they're making noise, but he ain't pleased. And he asked one more time, a third time, or I'm going to leave, acknowledge me. And this was, to me, it was the whole thing, but this especially was great because right off the bat, he feels his dominance slipping. His authority is being usurped, and the big Hollywood mogul has come in here and is stealing his fucking spotlight. And with Roman's facial expressions and his body language and the way that he reacts and the inflections in his voice, it was perfect. And when he didn't get the reaction he wanted, he's fine. My obligations are fulfilled. Fire up the jet, wise man. This appearance is over. We're leaving. And then Paul has to tremble and grovel and stammer and murmur. And you can see the trepidation and the fear in his face. We can't leave. We have business. He's coming out like it's a fucking the heel protagonist in a Stephen King novel. He's coming out. And Roman is disgusted. And Paul takes the microphone and introduces, ladies and gentlemen, the most electrifying man, the biggest movie star in the world, blah, blah, blah. The Rock is coming out here right after this break. And Roman turns away with a disgusted look on his face, and he's leaning on the ring ropes. That right there, that's the best cliffhanger. Instead of dive, somebody goes through a table to the break, That's a cliffhanger. I'm going to stick around to see what the fuck is going to go on now that I see Roman Reigns is upset that The Rock is coming out. Was that not the thought you had?
Well, Heyman's done that before, too, where he pitched a commercial from the center of the ring. The other thing is you have to wonder, did they realize they're not going to get another commercial break in for the next 40 minutes?
Yeah. No, I timed, and it was only, I think, 24. But when they came back, as soon as they come back from the commercial break, the Rock music hits and he does his heel walk out. And he can milk just standing there. He's another guy, like I've always said about Jerry Lawler. You can tell the expression on his face or his mental demeanor by his body language, even if you're in the arena and you're behind him. And right then, and help me, have you heard about the blacking out of the picture and the sound? Have you heard the story on this?
What was the story on this? Was it because of the sign, Die Rocky Die?
Well, no, I heard two things on the internet. So if they were on the internet, both of them must be true at the same time. But I heard they were trying to censor a Die Rocky Die sign, but that I still saw it plenty of times. That doesn't make sense. But they also, somebody was saying they were trying to not see the Rocky shops at Balco sign. Is Balco? Did help me with what that was?
Yeah,
it was some
I didn't even see that. Balco was
scandal.
Yeah, Balco in the Bay Area was where Barry Bonds, the home run king of baseball from the San Francisco Giants, got linked up with them. They are a steroid and maybe growth hormone. They were a steroid and growth hormone supply company that got in a lot of trouble.
Well, they were trying to take something out on the Fox network, and it was. But why would they take the audio out if they were trying to censor a sign? Because the audio and video was going, and it was starting to get distracting during The Rock's interview. What? I'm sorry, what?
I think there may have been chants as well that Fox didn't approve of. And one thought I had watching this was, we'll never have to deal with this again in a few months, because once they go to cable, you don't have to be so sensitive. You don't have to worry about your license being taken away by the FCC.
Well, yeah, and on the other network, on the other low-class wrestling program, they don't bleep the fans half the time when they're saying, you fucked up, you fucked up. So I know it's a personal network preference, and it's broadcasting cable. But, goddamn, it was so distracting. Whatever they're doing, they need to tell the fans, cut it the fuck out, or somebody snatched the sign or whatever, because it obviously wasn't the WWE doing it in the truck, because The Rock had no idea that some of his lines weren't getting over, but or weren't going across the broadcast, I should say. But anyway, the network was not happy with some of this, but they had incredible camera angles. Did you see the shot past Roman looking at The Rock, where it almost looked like they're telling the story that Roman is standing in Rock's shadow and he's not happy about it? The way they blocked that whole thing out, that was great.
Yeah.
And Rock announced that Phoenix is the #1 city for cocaine and methamphetamine use. You cactus-loving crackheads. And again, besides the blackouts being distracting, even you, as maligning as you have been of The Rock, this was
telling the
great.
Truth. Always telling the truth. This was great. Now, again, he gets away with and gets to say stuff and do stuff that no other wrestler on the roster would be allowed to do. He gets to go as long as he wants.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of leeway that no one else, advantages no one else has, but he killed it here. He was great. Now, some people did complain it went too long. Me personally, I thought it went by pretty quickly and it was great.
Yeah, and especially looking at the rest of the program, you'd rather see some of that instead of this. What the fuck? And that's the thing. Rock, he doesn't just get to go out there and say fuck or whip his dingleberry out or whatever, but he gets to do things. He said pro wrestling about 12 times. Pro wrestling is cool again and exciting again and electrifying again because of The Rock and Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. And, so he gets to say pro wrestling. And Then he refused Cody's challenge for a one-on-one match. He said, of course, every woman in this arena wants to go one-on-one with The Rock. And, I mean, the people were eating out of his hand. He got the right reaction. He got a big reaction on everything and the right reaction on everything. But he then made the big challenge. How about a tag team match, playa? Cody and Seth versus The Rock and Roman Reigns at night 1 of WrestleMania. And the stipulation is if Cody and Seth win, no Bloodline on Sunday. And Roman is still standing there watching this whole monologue of performance going on, and Rock just taking all his spotlight, and he's just doing all of his shit. And he's just kind of bemused, like, but then if Rock and Roman win night 1, then on night 2, the match with Cody and Roman will be Bloodline rules, which is no DQ, anything goes. We can do whatever the fuck we want to you. So now apparently they're going to get the tag team match on night 1, et cetera, et cetera. But basically that was the promo there. He says, meet us next week in Dallas, which is sold out, by the way. Accept the challenge or The Rock is going to do everything to see that you don't win, you don't become the champion, and you know where The Rock sits at the board. The Rock is your boss. There's not a man back there, no vice president, no bleep. That one got an audio bleep. Can stop me. And the fans started chanting Triple H. So they've got that fucking going for him.
What did he get bleeped for there?
He called him some name of some kind that one would think probably had some type of sexual innuendo. I don't know what the fuck. I don't think he just said that motherfucker, but apparently they were sensitive about that. But when the fans start chanting Triple H, again, now they've got, we'll analyze everything they've got at the end of this. But Rock says, if you don't accept this offer, then The Rock and Roman Reigns are going to end your story tragically. If you smell, and Roman stops him as he's bent over. Roman puts the fucking hand out on the microphone. And everybody fucking pauses. And Rock looks up, and Paul is aghast. I mean, his eyes are bugging. He looked like a bullfrog. Or actually, bullfrogs are more physically fit than Heyman is at this point in his moribund physical activity, lifetime.
Why?
Well, just because I'm just calling out the obvious, but he was fucking perfect with that face. And then time stands still as everybody's rumbling, and it was perfect. What's going to happen here? And Roman has been stewing about this. You can tell through the whole thing. And he says to The Rock, I need something from you. I'll do anything for my family, but I need this one thing. Acknowledge me. And there was lots of milking tension there. And I think they bleeped some more of the fans. And then finally, The Rock said, Roman Reigns, my family, I acknowledge you as my tribal chief. And they did the handshake and the hug. And now the fans are chanting, you sold out. You sold out. And The Rock says, this is family, and we will do anything for family. If you smell. And then he hands the mic to Roman. And Roman says, what the bloodline is cooking. Holy shit. Now, not only do they have ongoing tension between The Rock and Triple H that doesn't have to culminate in any kind of match because it's a battle of stars that are also in leadership positions. But now they got the tag match for night 1. They get The Rock and his involvement in WrestleMania. And then what in the world? They can do The Rock talks this whole fucking game up, and then he fucking somehow this plan backfires, and Roman has to face Cody at night 2 in a fair fight, and then loses, and then is mad at fucking Rock. Or The Rock's plan wins, and Cody overcomes everything at night 2. But in the process of doing that, There's tension now forming between The Rock and Roman that could lead to the summertime, or I mean, there's so many different avenues here of what the fuck is going to go on.
They've set up Heyman potentially being a sympathizer with The Rock as opposed to Roman Reigns here.
Yes. Whose side will the walrus be on? The walrus was Paul.
The walrus always goes with the biggest star. So it creates an interesting dynamic. And The Rock... Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but there's so many different ways they can go. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And The Rock is now trying to establish, he did a 20-minute video on like Twitter, but I didn't get to watch it because it was 20 minutes and I was busy, but everyone raved about it. It was kind of a dry run for what he did at SmackDown for 40 minutes.
No, I've got it written down right. It was 22 minutes from the time The Rock's music played till the end of that segment.
They have now got it to the point where The Rock is trying to convince everyone that this was all his plan to manipulate Cody and screw everything up. And, the fan reaction was all whatever. They're trying to play into it, and they should. And they're doing a great job with it. But if that's the case, he's going to do the same thing to Roman. This was my plan. And that's the thing. I guess that's my question. Are we at the point now where we're months away from a Roman Reigns babyface turn because The Rock steals the bloodline and Heyman? Is that the right thing to do? Because certainly The Rock shouldn't go back to being a babyface anytime soon, because this is what I've been saying. This is what he should be doing.
Well, and that's what I think we are. The Reigns babyface turn doesn't have to be predicated on The Rock stealing the bloodline, because Paul's an opportunist. He's going to stick around and, wait to see who comes out on top of this probably, or potentially he would go with The Rock, obviously, to add extra heat. But this may be part of The Rock's plan at some point to give a catalyst to turn Roman babyface, because when those two larger than life personalities and egos explode, you'll get that match. And also Roman would obviously be the one to be babyface because The Rock would have gotten him into a lot of this. So then the question is, The Rock doesn't have to steal the bloodline, because he's not going to be wrestling or in the ring on a regular basis. And I don't think he wants to commit to months and months of coming and doing their promos. But Paul could still be with Solo, and Roman could be a huge fucking babyface at some point, whatever that point is.
Well, great opening segment. And, it ate up 40 plus minutes of the show. But you didn't really miss anything. And when you saw this followed up with a few of the women's segments, like, I know they have fans for those, but I was able to take a break because I was like, 40 minutes, I need to go see what's going on. But they held me. But as soon as that segment was over, I was like, I have to leave the room for a bit, but they gave me good reason.
I must admit, I watched this segment twice because I enjoyed it so much. So to make up for that, I skipped most of the rest of the show, where Tiffany wrestled Naomi and Bayley and Dakota wrestled Oscar and Kerry. Braun Breaker wrestled Zion Quinn and beat him with a spear in 5 seconds. That was the only move. It looked up like $1 million doing it. Carlito and Escobar had a street fight that, remember when we said, well, that might be an interesting match to see? It wasn't.
I liked it. I watched it.
It was sloppy. It was like they couldn't even figure out what they were doing.
I watched it with a room full of people, and I was doing running commentary, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's because you were entertaining.
It was fun. Yeah, I had a good time.
Well, the main event, we'll get to it without further ado, was something that when I heard about it, I said, well, I'll watch that. Randy Orton and Austin Theory. And I swear to God, as soon as they rang the bell, Orton took over and Theory's bumping like a super ball, and Waller distracts Orton and Theory posts him and drops him on the desk, and they go to the break in 1.5 minutes. I've had and by the time they came back, there was, I think, 7 minutes left on the air at that point. And immediately Theory is going to the top rope, and Orton goes up and catches him and goes for a superplex. But as Orton went to step up to the top rope with his right foot, and Theory was stepping up to the top, so they'd have to come off the top. They can't come off the second rope. We've gone over this a million times. Orton's right foot slips off the top rope, and he loses his balance and jumps down and lands on his feet. But since Theory was stepping up at the same time, Theory thought that he was going, and he gave himself the superplex, and somehow in middle of that, Orton went with it, and they landed perfectly without anybody getting hurt. That was the most out of control thing I've ever seen to actually end up well. And then Orton popped up to his feet and put his arms out like, oh, well, it worked in rehearsal. So a big comeback, drops him on the desk, drops Waller on the desk, gives Theory the DDT, milks the RKO. They go back and forth a little bit more. And then finally, Theory goes for the rolling drop kick, and Orton hits the RKO. Boom. 1, 2, 3. There was not 6 minutes of this match that made air. And then Waller attacked Orton, and Kevin Owens came in from color, and he gave a stunner to Theory where he popped up into goddamn orbit. And then Orton RKO'd Waller, and the heels scampered away with their tails between their legs. It's not easy to get heat on this program unless you're the Bloodline. Because those pesky baby faces will just kick the ever-loving shit out of you. But I wanted to like that, but there wasn't anything there.
No, and that was SmackDown, a one-segment show. I mean, Braun Breaker's debut was cool, but it was like second, or not debut, but his second match, and that was seconds. But it was a one-match show.
Well, no, it wasn't a one-match show because...
Or one-segment show.
Actually, that was 2 segments. Because they went to a break before Rock came out, so they'd have more time. So actually, it was a 40-minute show that took 2 hours. How's that?
That's SmackDown.
Well, what in the world is going on at the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network this fine week, Brian?
Another fine week of programming on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. News about all the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast or on Facebook at facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. A few notes, of course. The wrestling news. Each and every day, get your wrestling news for free. No matter what is happening, whatever you want to know about in the world of wrestling, we'll give it to you for free every single morning. No matter what, every day. No matter
what the internet sounds like.
No matter what's out there, we got it for you every day directly from thewrestlingnews.com or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Look for Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News. Want to make mention of Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon. He has had a series of excellent episodes. They're all excellent, but talking to former Titan Tower employees, his colleagues, because he worked there, so former co-workers from Titan Towers, and maybe now more than ever, it's interesting to hear stories about what it was like to work there. Hear that today. Look for SUAWpod.com or Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, the 605 Superpodcast, The Mothership! Well, I just didn't have it today, but go through the archive, 605pod.com, available wherever you find your favorite podcasts, The Mothership.
You had it, but you lost it. Your get up and go got up and went.
That's right, like Tony without his coffee.